Sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo do Combo Infinito, eu sou o Ariel.
Aqui é Lepitecos, estamos no Oeste Proibido e você está no Combo Infinito.
Antes de eu puxar a abertura, do nada surgiu um raio de sol no Aleptecos, olha lá. Tá simplesmente...
É porque eu sou uma pessoa iluminada.
Tá certo. Hoje começaram a surgir aí algumas informações novas de Horizon Forbidden West e principalmente a IGN, que sempre faz um trabalho excelente lá fora, aqui no Brasil também. Um abraço pro Gianzão, editor-chefe e nosso brother lá da IGN Brasil. Eles lançaram o hands-on do Horizon Forbidden West. Então a gente vai acompanhar o que eles estão falando nesse vídeo. A gente nem assistiu ainda. E lembrando vocês então que esse vídeo vem direto do canal oficial americano da IGN. A gente vai deixar o link aí para vocês também na descrição. Vamos puxar aqui. Pode falar.
A hora que você estiver pronto...
Manda bala.
Vamos lá? 3, 2, 1, vai!
O vídeo está com legendas geradas pelo YouTube em português, então pode ter alguns erros aí.
Horizon
está em 4K, coloca em 4K.
An amazing foundation to Guerrilla Games' post-apocalyptic world. Following it up is no small feat, but after 4 hours of hands-on time with early portions of the sequel, Horizon Forbidden West is shaping up to be a fulfillment of all the promises made by its predecessor. Combat is more complex, exploration is more freeing, and the world is teeming with more intriguing life, both robotic and human, and meaningful things to do. The Forbidden West in all its glory still waits to be seen, but I'm not forbidden from telling you about so much of why it's an adventure on which I can't wait to embark.
Bom, então tá aí, ó, feito pelo Jonathan Dornbush.
My time with Forbidden West didn't start exactly where Aloy's journey begins in the sequel, but rather a little into her quest to find new answers and maybe save humanity along the way.
It's been 6 months since the events of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Diretor de narrativo
throughout the
do
world
jogo.
That this red blight is kind of encroaching everywhere. And this is a world-ending threat, and she has to find a way to stop it.
The first big question I had when jumping in was how much freer exploration actually would be. Zero Dawn did many things right, but its climbing navigation was one of its most frustrating limitations. Forbidden West doesn't make every single inch of its world climbable, which may be disappointing to some, but it was immediately apparent and appreciable just how much more of the world is scalable, and how fun it is to do so, and it's made better by an improved focus. A quick click of R3 causes a pulse scan around Aloy, revealing resources to pick up, as well as, more importantly, highlighting climbable parts of the world.
É o focus dela que tá mostrando onde ela pode escalar, então.
A fancy sort of grappling hook that lets the player pull Aloy to harder to reach or further points. It's even something that can be used in conjunction with the Shield Wing, a glider Aloy obtained near the end of my demo.
Ele conseguiu isso no fim da demo, então a gente vai pegar isso bem pra frente.
And pull casting to an interesting spot on a nearby cliff face creates a real degree of freedom.
A demo pode ser diferente. Você tá um pouco longe, acho, do microfone aí, viu?
Forbidden West seems purpose-built to ensure that everything you do has more worthwhile and varied rewards. Deeper Settlements is a core part of Forbidden West, and if my time in Chainscrape, the first one I came across, is any indication, there will be a lot for players to find, discover, and lose hours to play.
We really wanted to improve, we really wanted to kind of listen to the fans and listen to our reviewers, and also based on our own internal feedback. And so there was a whole set of things we wanted to do with Settlements, including general sense of them being more lifelike, better animations, better schedules for the NPCs, and also audio. We really wanted to improve the sort of crowd audio in the sense that when you go into any given place in a settlement, it has its own kind of audio personality. And we also have a situation where Aloy's going in to the Forbidden West and encountering new tribes, specifically the Utaru and the Tanakh. And we really wanted to make sure those were as differentiated as possible with, NPCs doing things that they would only do in that tribe to give it that sense of life.
The center point of the town, a busy brewery, had so many cute little bespoke animations of characters sharing a pint, laughing at stories being told, and more. But settlements aren't going to be just full of NPCs you can't interact with. There seem to be more side quests and worthwhile ones at that. There is also a wider swath of side objectives I encountered in and out of town, like melee fight pits, environmental puzzles, and even more, like an in-universe board game called Machine Strike that I'm already setting aside a dozen or so hours to lose playing it. And all of these objectives don't feel like one of any open world's biggest potential problems.
Olha que cenário, mano.
Instead, narrative director Ben McCaw explained how everything is built with more and better rewards in mind, whether they be new equipment, outfits, weapons, or key pieces of lore.
It's great to have a huge open world, but if all of the activities in it feel kind of tacked on or not related or not essential, that's not a great feeling. We wanted to make sure that there's a certain path through this game where if players want to experience the main quest and kind of get to the end of the story as quickly as possible, that they could do that. And also, there's definitely a progression through this game that's really focused on combat. But if there is going to be an activity in the world, a board game, a melee pit, even a camp or outpost associated with Regala's rebels, or there are other examples, things that return from the previous game. They all need to feel part of the world. They all need to be part of the story.
I enjoyed much of Zero Dawn's ensemble, but I kind of fell in love with almost every character, new and old, big and small, in Forbidden West. Aloy has been endearing from minute one, but Ashly Burch plays her with such a charming determination that is as enjoyable to watch in action as she defies bureaucrats unwilling to take action to get things done, as it is painful to see keep her at arm's length from close friends like Erend and Petra who care so deeply for her.
I'm asking nicely.
Arrest her!
I'd like to see you try.
So,
personalidade dela é muito legal.
Forbidden West is just put her under as much pressure as possible. And so obviously she has the pressure of trying to resolve the Blight, which is a world-ending threat, and she has all the other pressures of like fighting machines and just trying to survive in this world. But she also has this other pressure of trying to live up to the example of her genetic mother, Elizabeth Sobek. This is probably one of the greatest people in history and someone who literally almost single-handedly saved the world. That's a very, very high bar for Aloy to live up to, and it affects her interactions with other people. It's also important to remember that this is someone who grew up an outcast and only just started to interact with the world as a whole in the previous game.
And while this opening section teased some of the new tribes Aloy will interact with in the West, it also heralded the arrival of her new enemy, Regala. And what an introduction it is.
Lancers! Form up!
Played with such power by Angela Bassett, Regala is immediately positioned as a force to be reckoned with, and it only appears to scratch the surface of her power.
Aloy's companions offer different interactions that display different aspects of Aloy's personality. And this is something that carries through the whole game. It's actually one of the major themes of the game is how does she relate to other people? How does she relate to her companions? How does that change her as a person? And Aloy's companions are really central to the story and the themes of the Forbidden West. It's really the way that she relates to each of them differently and the impact that they have on her that really forces her to kind of evolve her personality throughout the game.
Erend!
Luckily, Aloy has a few new friends and new tools and skills at her disposal to rise to the occasion. There are now 6 lengthy skill trees players can invest in based on their style. It should all pair nicely with the expanded arsenal of equipment and outfits you'll acquire. And in another nice twist on established systems, outfits are more closely tied to these skill trees, and some will offer stat boosts that can make skills even stronger.
Legal, parece estar tudo bem mais
Notably, melee combat
claro
is
de
also
entender.
improved. There's a far greater fluidity in the animations and how they chain together, and it also seems like a more viable option in general, thanks to new skills like the impressive Resonator Blast. There will also be new weapons like the Javelin Thrower, while returning items like Tripcasters and standard
problema não é também não.
options make a welcome
Mas
comeback.
estar mais
But
claro,
there's
mais
now a
fácil é
wider
legal.
amount of those elements as well, including acid arrows that can be deployed with a precise strike to use acid-bearing machines' own toxicity against them. Machines, of course, are a major part of the attraction of Horizon's world, and at least so far, Forbidden West is still capturing that mix of wonder, awe, and trepidation that comes with meeting these creatures. There's a nice blend of new and returning machine types, like the acidic bristlebacks, returning scrappers and chargers, and even something new like the burrower. Guerrilla is clearly saving some of Forbidden West's biggest battles for players, including myself, to play through when the full game is released, but I did get to take on one of my most eagerly anticipated newcomers, the venomous Slitherfang. To do so, I jumped a bit further into Forbidden West to try out its new arena, an optional area where players will take on various challenges, needing to finish them under a certain time limit to earn medals that unlock some of the sequel's best equipment. The Slitherfang, with its whole new suite of devastating attacks, is a prime example of the ingenuity Guerrilla displays with Horizon's combat. Coupled with all the new weapons and skills, which I admittedly was still just getting the hang of, defeating the Slitherfang in time was immensely gratifying in the way taking down Zero Dawn's biggest foes was. But with new tricks for both Aloy and foes, these fights are a fresh joy to discover as I worked out the best way to succeed. Or at least survive. I played this particular battle in Forbidden West's frame rate mode, though I switched between the favoring resolution and performance options throughout, and found both worthy of my time.
Certo, já trouxe aí pouquinho do que a gente pode esperar das opções gráficas.
Playing on PS5, Forbidden West World is a sight to behold, from stunning vistas with lengthy views to the enhanced level and amount of detail in a settlement like Chainscrape, to smoother animations both in and out of combat. Forbidden West is frequently dazzling. Appreciably, whereas Zero Dawn's conversations usually involve tight shots on two characters talking, almost every conversation I had in Forbidden West saw the camera pulled back more and let characters be more uniquely animated in their movements and facial expressions.
About time there was something worth looking at in this
Eles não ficam mais tão parados, então.
It's nice to see you too.
Thankfully, we're only under a month away from getting to see all of this play out in full, and my time with Horizon Forbidden West has me more assured than ever that Guerrilla has really refined and evolved the Horizon experience with Forbidden West.
There is an enormous amount of story and territory and combat to be had. But the slice that we did give you is really near the beginning of Aloy's journey, near the beginning of her sojourn into the Forbidden West, and also just the very beginning of her evolution as a character.
It's an easy comparison to make, but often an apt one. The leap here feels like it could be that jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2, which is saying something considering how solid Zero Dawn already was. But nearly every misgiving I had about the original seems to have been thought through, and then some. Aloy's new journey seems more robust and rewarding than I expected, while retaining the wonder and awe that its predecessor delivered on. I still don't know quite what the Forbidden West itself will hold, but after my hands-on, I've never been more excited to find out. For more, be sure to check out our Podcast Beyond conversation about even more details from our hands-on time with Forbidden West, and if you're interested in hearing about more PlayStation exclusives, be sure to check out our Art of the Level on Uncharted 4's greatest chase sequence. And for everything else in the world of PlayStation, you're already in the right place.
Bom, aí já estão na parte final do vídeo. Bom, a gente, quando fala de uma sequência, a gente sempre espera que ela seja uma evolução e que ela possa ser melhor do que o original, né? Nem sempre uma sequência consegue ser melhor, mas que ela possa trazer coisas que, quem sabe, sejam marcantes. E esse jogo, essa comparação que ele fez do Assassin's Creed 1 pro 2, ela parece ser muito interessante. Se ela determinar que o salto de qualidade é parecido com aquilo, a gente vai receber um baita jogo, cara, porque o Horizon Zero Dawn é muito bom, e se o salto é desse jeito, o Assassin's Creed 1 era bem limitado, na minha opinião, mas era um bom jogo. Mas o 2 evoluiu tanto que o 2 é um clássico, né? Você acha que pensa da mesma forma, assim? Acha que o negócio vai ser absurdo?
Cara, desde o princípio, quando eu terminei Horizon Zero Dawn, eu sabia que eu tava jogando um jogo muito bom. Só que ali precisavam de alguns ajustes, né? E isso ficou claro, enfim, no que o cara disse nesse jogo, que provavelmente, até os produtores também falam isso, né? Falaram durante todos os diários que eles faziam, né? Que eles ouviram bastante a comunidade, ouviram bastante os reviewers, e isso é interessante porque faz o jogo evoluir. E é o que eu espero realmente do Horizon Forbidden West, que evolua no quesito de amplitude, né, que ele consiga ser maior do que o primeiro, em todos os aspectos.
Com qualidade, né? Porque ser só maior também não adianta.
Sim, mas aí, obviamente, né, maior e melhor, e que traga as devidas correções, digamos, devidos ajustes que precisavam ser feitos em relação ao primeiro. Eu tô bastante crente que esse jogo vai ter um nível de excelência muito alto.
Eu cada vez mais acho que ele não só concorre ao GOT, como ele vai ser isso que eu tô sentindo agora, a gente tem que jogar, óbvio. A gente não tá com o jogo também, que fique bem claro. A gente não recebeu nem teste, nem nada, tá? Tudo que a gente tá falando é o que a gente acha, principalmente depois de ver esse hands-on da IGN. Eu não só acho que ele vai concorrer, como ele parece ter tudo o que um grande candidato a GOT normalmente tem, né? Ainda mais se a gente vê os históricos, né, dos campeões dos GOTs. Então, pô, acho que a Guerrilla tá no caminho muito bom. E eles até falaram aí, né? O produtor falou, o diretor narrativo falou que ainda é o começo das histórias da Aloy, mas é um ponto de mudança, né, da personalidade dela. Eu fico muito curioso por isso, porque a personalidade dela sempre foi bem interessante de se acompanhar.
E puxando o que o próprio reviewer disse aí, se você for comparar Assassin's Creed 1 com Assassin's Creed 2, tem um salto de qualidade muito grande, muito grande. Assassin's Creed 1 tem coisas positivas, mas ele é muito repetitivo, ele tem aquelas mesmas mecânicas que fica enfadonho. O 2, ele modifica muita coisa, traz bastante coisa legal, bastante coisa nova. E aí, você pensa, pô, se Horizon Zero Dawn evoluiu para um Assassin's Creed 2, segundo ele, né, tipo, tem um salto de qualidade muito grande com o Forbidden West, o Assassin's Creed teve uma carreira muito boa e evoluiu ainda muito mais. Então a gente de repente pode esperar algo nesse modelo pro Horizon, né?
Eu acho que pelo menos tem a vida longa, mas talvez não precise ter tantos jogos quanto Assassin's Creed, mas eu entendi a tua comparação, porque o Assassin's Creed foi se moldando, né?
Claro,
principalmente os 3 últimos, que o pessoal ainda é muito crítico, e eu acho que é crítico pelos jogos anteriores, não pelos últimos, porque os últimos são muito bons. Apesar do Odyssey, eu ter ali minhas certas críticas, que eu acho que o Odyssey é bem cansativo. Mas outra coisa legal que eles falaram antes da gente fechar, essa parte do ambiente das vilas. Essas coisas no primeiro jogo, eu acho que eles estão lá, eles estão muito paradinhos realmente, parece não ter uma vida acontecendo, parecem ter personagens esperando pra você poder interagir. E ali, a gente pode ver muita coisa acontecendo dentro desses lugares, já é uma coisa que eles vêm falando há mais tempo, parece ser uma preocupação, né? Trazer mais vida pro mundo e pra essas vilazinhas.
Hoje a gente vê muitos mundos abertos extremamente bem feitos, super complexos, cheios de vida. O Horizon Zero Dawn, até mesmo por toda a lore do jogo, que depois você vai entender, eu não vou me alongar muito porque vai ser spoiler, mas você entende porque o mundo tá, né, pós-apocalíptico, né? Nem pós-apocalíptico, pós-apocalíptico.
Eles falaram isso no começo do vídeo, inclusive.
Exatamente. Então, você entende o porquê tá daquela maneira. Entretanto, você poderia encontrar, e provavelmente a gente vai encontrar no Forbidden West, até mesmo mais interação entre os próprios animais mecânicos, mas terá mais interação, e entre as outras tribos, as novas tribos e as que a gente já conhecia.
Cara, tá realmente com cara de que vai ser um grande jogo. A gente tem uma observação relacionada à versão do Play 4, que a gente precisa falar com vocês em vídeo, vamos lançar em breve, e vamos fazer outro vídeo de reação sobre a evolução do mundo aberto, que a própria IGN também trouxe em outro vídeo, e a gente vai trazer aqui a nossa reação e a nossa opinião pra vocês. Mas por enquanto eles podem opinar sobre este vídeo, né, Lê?
Exatamente, aproveita, deixa o seu like, compartilha esse vídeo, até a próxima, valeu!
Valeu!